Hi, I'm Kirsten Thrush from Essential Life Balance. I've been with doTERRA for 2.5 years now, and I've got an amazing gold doTERRA team. I am the sort of person who is big on time management, and so therefore I was asked to present at our Getting to Know doTERRA event in June. We haven't got to June yet, in May this year. I've been asked by a number of people who couldn't make that if I could redo today and do it via a Zoom webinar. So here we are. So I'm just going to screen share and flip over to my PowerPoint presentation. Let's see if I can get this all working. Okay. So hopefully now you can see my screen. So as I say, this was first presented at the Getting to Know doTERRA on the May the 11th this year. And the topic I was given was prioritising your time to align with your goals. So about me before I get started. So I'm a mum and I'm a wife. I've got 2 gorgeous children. I've got Samantha, who is 9, and my son Adam, who is 7, and my hunky hubby there too, Matt. I work 25 hours a week, and that's 5 days a week. So I currently work from 8:30 in the morning till 2 o'clock every day. As I was saying, I'm the leader of an amazing gold team who I love dearly and who I love spending time with and supporting. I'm doing Diamond Club this year, which is an amazing journey and another thing that takes up my time. And somewhere in that also, I love adventuring in the great outdoors. So I've heard all of the excuses from people. The excuses that I've got no time, I'm too busy. Well, I can tell you I'm a busy person, but it's all about making time, and it's all about prioritizing our time. So that's what I want to talk about a bit tonight, is how we can prioritize our time and what we can put in place so that it helps us to achieve our goals and where we want to go. So I thought this cartoon was pretty apt, that I'm very busy doing things I don't need to do in order to avoid doing anything I'm actually supposed to be doing. That sounds like a lot of us a lot of the time, but let's try and get past that. So imagine this. You're sitting at home working away on your computer, you're right in the middle of something, and your little girl comes up to you and goes, Mummy, can you come outside and play with me and Johnny? And you go, honey, I haven't got any time. I'm sorry, I'm really, really busy. I've got no time. But then imagine this. She runs up to you and goes, Mummy, Johnny stood on this huge big nail. Can you come and help us? And of course, what do? You go and help them, right? What else would you do? Has someone just invented some time between those two scenarios? Has all of a sudden there's this extra time appeared? Or have your priorities changed? And all of a sudden the priority is to help the son that stood on the nail rather than to do what you're doing at your computer. So there's no such thing as inventing time, but it's all about what our priorities are and how we prioritize our time. So everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Everyone's got the same 7 days in a week. But it's for how we prioritize our time, and it's how we make the best of our time that truly matters. So I love this. I don't have time is a grown-up version of the dog ate my homework. We've all got the same time. It's how we use that time. So I love this story. So imagine that you've got a big jar, so a big glass jar. And if we've got a pile of rocks, we've got a pile of pebbles, we've got a pile of sand, and we've got some water. Now, if we fill that jar all the way up to the top with the water, then we've got no room to put anything else in. We put some sand in, it's going to overflow. It's going to be too full. We put some rocks in, it's going to overflow. It's going to be too full. There's no room for anything else. But just imagine instead that we put the rocks in first. So we put our rocks into the jar. Then we've still got some room that we can put some pebbles in, and those pebbles can sit amongst the big rocks. Our jar looks full, but then we can put some sand in there, and the sand sifts and it sits amongst the other thing. And even though that jar now looks full, we can put water in there to fill up all those extra gaps. So when we look at this, those rocks are our priorities. They're the things that we have to do, that we really want to do. They're what our big priorities are in life. So how about we put those in our jar first? How about we prioritise that, which is priority number 1, and we put that in our diaries first. So the pebbles then are the other things that matter. They might be the job, they might be the getting the meals ready. They're things that matter and things that we have to do, but they're not our huge, big priorities. The sand's the small stuff. So that's all the other bits and pieces that we want to do. And then, of course, we've got the water, which is the time wasted. So if we put those rocks in first, then we've actually still got time to put our pebbles in. We've still got time for the things that matter.
Just write your words in, baby.
We've got our priorities, so we've got the things that really matter. We can put some other things that matter. We can put the small stuff, and we've even got time for time-wasting stuff. However, if we turned it around the other way and we had done the time-wasting stuff first, then our jar's full, and we haven't got time to fit everything else into it. So how then do we identify our priorities? And there's a number of different ways that we can do that. We can have a look at what our goals are. We may have some goals that we want to achieve, whether those are business goals, whether those are personal goals, whether they're relationship goals. And we need to look at what can help us to get there. What do I want to achieve, and what do I need to do to get to those goals? And we can make those our priorities, and we can put those in our time first. So we can put those in our jar first. But the other thing I like to say is have a look at what your passions are as well. Because if we've got goals, things that we want to achieve that we're not passionate about, it's going to be a lot harder to prioritise them and put them in our jar first. So I recommend that you Google the passion test and have a look at it and sit down and do it and have a look at what your passions are and what you really want to get out of life. So with me, my passions are spending time with my family and having the ability to do that. My passions are travelling. My passions are spending time outdoors. My passions are helping other people as well. So therefore, those are the things that I'm going to put into my time first, is so that I'm doing something every day that's helping me get to my goals, but also with my passions.
I'm listening to this call, baby.
Yes. And the other thing that we do need to look at then is how our goals align with our passions. Excuse me, if anyone could possibly mute themselves at the moment, just because it's quite hard with all the noise in the background, that would be fabulous. Thank you very much.
Hang on, Jack. Jack, shush.
So we do need to look at how our goals align with our passions. And as I was saying before, if our goals are in alignment with our passions and helping us to do what we're passionate about, then it's going to be so much easier to prioritise those. Now, I did a really interesting, very statistically significant Facebook survey the other day when I was putting this together. And one of the questions I asked was, why do we spend our time doing time-wasting things when we know that there's other things that we should be doing? And one of the answers that came up that I really liked was that sometimes we do stuff, sometimes we don't do the important stuff because it's stuff we need to do and not stuff that we want to do. So the question is then, how can we make that important stuff we have to do be stuff we want to do? And that's again looking at how it aligns with our goals and passions. Because if we can know that what we're doing is going to help us to move towards where we want to go, it's going to be so much easier to do. So much easier to pick up that phone knowing that it's moving us that step closer to where we want to get to. Which brings us back to knowing what our why is, what are our goals, what are our passions, why are we doing what we do? Because when we align that all together, it's going to make us a lot easier to prioritise our time to meet those goals. So it's when everything comes into alignment that it's going to be so much easier. And then we've looked at what our priorities are. So we need to then look at what are our time wasters. So once again, this was my very statistically significant survey I did on Facebook before I had to put this together. And I asked people, what are your time wasters? And these are the things that came up. Funnily enough, Facebook was one of them. Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. Sound familiar? Cooking. Some people would go and cook up a storm when they know there's other things that need to be done. For some people, it's TV watching. For other people, the time waste is cleaning. And I just must say here that for anybody, if the way you waste time is cleaning, then please feel free to send me a message, to contact me. You are more than welcome in my house any single day of the week, because cleaning is not one of my time wasters. But if it's yours and you enjoy doing it, please feel free to contact me. And reading was another one that came up as well in terms of the things that people do as time wasters. So what can we do about all of these? What can we do about these time wasters? Because we can fit some of them into our bucket, but they shouldn't go in first. So we can look at what can we stop. So it may be stopping the mindless scrolling on Facebook. It may be stopping the watching the midday soaps on the TV. What can we schedule? So for me, I love reading, and reading's something I do for downtime. And so I schedule my novels to read before I go to bed. So I'm still doing it, I'm still doing something I love, but I'm not wasting my time with it during the day. I'm scheduling it in so I know I can look forward to it during the evening. So schedule in those things that you like to do, but that you can tend to waste time with. Delegate. I love this one. For those of you who've got kids, it's great because you can delegate. Things like helping with dinner is something you can absolutely delegate. Work out nights of the week that people can do different meals. Help each other. It's all helping you and helping you all to achieve your goals. Outsource. This is where my cleaning comes in, and we outsource it. Something I don't enjoy doing, it's something I don't want to time waste doing, and so therefore I'll outsource it to someone else. I'd rather pay someone else and have that 3 hours a week in my day that I can use to do something productive for me. Or we can minimize. So we might want to minimize the time that we spend on our time wasters. So like we were saying initially, we still can do them. If we do our rocks first, we've got our priorities, we've got our other important stuff. There's still room to fit some of the time wasters in, but we just need to minimize it and not do it first. Now I can see there's a couple of questions coming up. What I will do is I will have a look at those at the end, and I'll answer those as we go through. So what I'd like you to do is actually to sit down and to look, get out a piece of paper and put 3 columns on it, and actually look at what are your priorities? What are the rocks in your life? Where is the time that the things that you really, really want to do, the things that if you did nothing else, you'd be happy. And write down what they are. Write down what your rocks are in your life. So for me, that's where my doTERRA time fits. It's one of my rocks, aligns with my family time. Doing my income producing pipes activities. So for my doTERRA, that's my preparation, inviting, presenting, enrolling and supporting. Time outside in nature and rest. Those are all rocks for me. Those are all things I have to have in my life. Then we've got the other stuff that matters. What's the other stuff that you need to fit in as well? So the pebbles, the job, the kids after school activities, my business Facebook, etc. And what's the other small stuff that you can look at doing a little bit of, or you can look at outsourcing or delegating. And now this is where it's interesting as well, because this is where you need to be really honest with yourself as to where doTERRA fits in your priorities. Is it a rock? Are you doing this as a kick-ass business and you will be prioritising time for it? Or what are you wanting just to fit it around other stuff? Is it a pebble? Is it important, but it's not the be-all and end-all? Or is it just sand that you just want to fit around everything else you're doing? And the beauty of this is that we can put it in either of those boxes, and there's no right and there's no wrongs. It comes down to what's your priorities and where it fits for you. So what I've done as well is we need to block out time. So this could be in a diary, or it could be online calendars. Basically, it should be whatever works for you. But how I find it is blocking out time is a really good way that we can make sure that our rocks are in there. So it may be something like this. This is an example I found, where you block out specific periods of time and say, okay, this is my time for my family stuff. This is my time for doing this. We don't have to get down to scheduling to the nearest 5 minutes or anything like that. But when we set aside a block of times, it actually frees us up. It frees up our mind. We don't have to worry about when we're going to get things done. We've set aside a block of time that we can do that in. And it really helps us to actually achieve what we want to achieve and achieve those goals we've got by prioritising our time. We want to do that yearly. Now it sounds strange, but for me, for example, at the moment, I'm doing Diamond Club. So for me, from February to May, my priority is Diamond Club. So therefore that goes into my scheduling. We want to schedule monthly as well. So if you're planning a family weekend away, or you just want family downtime for a weekend, schedule it in. And otherwise, if you just everything else fits in there around, it doesn't get the space to fit. Schedule in those priorities first. Look weekly. So when you're looking weekly, look at what after school activities you've got with children. Look at what commitments you've got. Look at where your priorities are and schedule those in. And the same for daily. Once again, we're not scheduling in every 15 minutes. We're not being anal about this, but we're blocking out time for our priorities so that we can make sure that that time gets allocated. Get your priorities in there first is the important thing with this. If we get our priorities in and timetabled in first, everything else can fit around that. So this is what it looks like for me. So for me, as I was saying, I work 8:30 till 2, and then from 3 till 7:30 is my time with the kids. This is when we do all our after school activities, etc. So for me, those go in there. Now I've got an hour between 2 and 3, so that's doTERRA time. So this is a great time for me to do mentoring with my team. It's a great time to do follow-ups with people. I'm making the most of that block of time. I've also got my evenings, which often this is where I have my workshops, evenings and weekends. Really important to have the hubby time in there as well. Don't let them miss out. Make sure there's some of that time in there. And of course, some time for you. So what I find is by blocking time out like this, I'm actually achieving a bit more balance, and I'm making sure that the things that really make me happy are being timetabled in there and scheduled in there. And then everything else can fit around. So I've got my rocks in there, I've got my pebbles in there, and everything else that fits around is the sand. So now that we know where our doTERRA time is, we need to look at how we spend that time. And I love the share success pipes. So we need to look at when are we going to do our preparation? When are we going to do our inviting? So when are we going to actually invite people to our workshops? When are we going to make new contacts? When are we going to present? When are we going to have our workshops? And when are we going to support? When are we going to do our follow-ups? And when are we going to do our business training? And have some ideas of when we can fit those things in. Because by doing these things consistently and fitting them in, that's when we're going to be successful. So we're preparing, inviting, presenting, enrolling, and supporting. And that's our 2 by 2 by 2 plus 1. So for those who aren't familiar with it, we're looking at 2 contacts a day, 2 follow-ups a day, 2 workshops a week, and 1 team event a month. So once again, that can be scheduled in. And depending on where you see your doTERRA as a rock, a pebble, the sand, you can schedule that in accordingly. So in summary, I'd just like to say that nobody's too busy. It is all just a matter of priorities. So I hope that's been really helpful for you. I'm going to go off my screen sharing and I'm going to go back into here, and feel free if anyone wants to unmute themselves with any questions, and I'm just going to have a look at the chat as well and see what we've got on here. Fabulous. Yeah, no, lots of support for it. So it's all really about the priorities. And once we know what our priorities are, then we can make our goals success. It's putting in those rocks first, knowing what our priorities are, what our rocks are, and timetabling them in, making time for them, because once we do that, then everything else falls into place. So hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. Hopefully you've got some new information out that can help you. I have recorded this, so I will post it up in the event for those who couldn't make it. How come you look so fresh and good? It's the end of Diamond Club. Hey, looks can be deceiving. It's all good. Thank you, ladies. It's been fabulous. I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at Leadership in a week's time. It's going to be so exciting, and we'll catch up soon. Big hugs for everyone. Bye.